What is the difference between the original story of the god, Loki, and the movies, Marvel? Loki is one of the most entertaining and ambiguous gods. He is revered as the god of cunning, deception, and fire, and his deeds are often the cause of controversy among the other gods. Although Loki is not a member of the Aesir, but a Jotun, giant, he lives among the Aesir and is considered a close friend of Odin and Thor. Loki has several wives and children, each of whom is important. Loki's first wife is Sigyn, a goddess known for her devotion and kindness. Loki and Sigyn's relationship begins as a normal marital relationship, but is gradually complicated by Loki's actions. Loki often commits unsavory deeds, incurring the anger and displeasure of the other gods. However, Sigyn remains loyal to him and supports him despite all the difficulties. One of the most famous cases involving Loki and Sigyn is Loki's punishment of the god Balder. After Loki tricked the blind god Hod into striking Balder with an arrow made of mistletoe, the gods decided to punish Loki. They captured him and chained him to 3 stones using the entrails of his son Narvi. A snake was suspended above Loki's head, whose venom dripped directly onto his face, causing excruciating pain. Sigyn stayed by Loki's side, holding a bowl to collect the snake's venom and protect her husband from pain. However, when the bowl was filled, Sigyn had to pour out the poison and the drops hit Loki's face, causing him to shudder in pain. These convulsions of Loki caused earthquakes in the human world. This episode emphasizes the depth of Sigyn's love and devotion to Loki, as well as the tragic aspect of their relationship. Despite all the evil that Loki brings to the world, Sigyn remains loyal to him to the end. Loki and Sigyn have 2 sons. Narvi is the eldest son. Little is known about his role. Vali is Loki's youngest son. He was born shortly after Loki took the form of a mare and gave birth to the 8-legged foal Sleipnir. Vali grew quickly and matured in just 1 day. When the god Balder was defeated by a mistletoe arrow fired by the blind god Hod, who had been tricked by Loki, Vala took revenge by defeating Hod. Vali was then turned into a wolf and mauled his brother Narvi. Loki's second wife is the giantess Angrboda, bringer of woe. She is known for her dark nature and her association with destruction. Unlike Sigyn, Loki's first wife, Angrboda is not associated with kindness and devotion. Instead, she represents the danger and chaos that Loki brings into the world. The meeting between Loki and Angrboda took place in Jotunheim, where Loki frequented, socializing with the giants. Their relationship developed against the backdrop of Loki's general penchant for adventure and seeking new experiences. Loki was probably attracted to Angrboda's dark and mysterious nature, which led to their union. Their union is not based on love or mutual respect, but rather on shared interests and a penchant for chaos and destruction. Loki is attracted to the dark side of Angrboda, and their combined efforts lead to the creation of the 3 most dangerous. Loki and Angrboda have 3 children who are considered the most dangerous creatures: Fenrir, a giant wolf who grows to such a size that the gods decide to put him in chains. First they make 2 chains, letting in Dromi, but Fenrir tears them off without difficulty. Then the dwarves create a 3rd chain, Gleipnir, made from the sounds of cat steps, a woman's beard, mountain roots, a bear's vein, fish breath, and bird saliva. Fenrir agrees to wear this chain, but requires one of the gods to place a hand in his mouth as a sign of goodwill. Only Thursday agrees, and when Fenrir realizes he cannot break the chain, he bites off Thursday's hand. On the day of Ragnarok, Fenrir will break free and devour the sun, the moon, and Odin himself. Jormungand, also known as the world serpent, is a colossal sea monster that girdles the entire globe. Jormungand is the brother of Fenrir and the son of Loki and Angrboda. On the day of Ragnarok, Jormungand will come ashore and engage in battle with the god Thor, during which he will give up his spirit. Hel is the lord of the afterlife, named after her. She is half beautiful, half rotting, and rules over a realm where those who are not cast down in battle are sent. On the day of Ragnarok, Hel will release them to the surface of the earth to join the army of giants. Loki also has other children born out of wedlock, Sleipnir, an 8-legged stallion recognized as the fastest horse in the world. He was born when Loki turned into a mare to distract the stallion Svadilfari from completing the walls of Asgard. Loki did so to prevent Svadilfari from meeting the deadline and receiving his reward from the gods. Sleipnir differs from ordinary horses in that he has 8 legs, allowing him to move faster and easier than any other horse. He became Odin's favorite horse and helped him travel the 9 worlds. Sleipnir is often mentioned as Odin's faithful companion. He also played an important role in a number of adventures, such as Odin's journey to Helheim to bring Baldur back. Elf Loki's daughter, about whom almost nothing is known. Her name is mentioned in one of the lists of names, but there are no details about her. The elf does not play a significant role in the events, and little is said about her in the surviving sources. This may be because she was not involved in significant events or her story has been lost to time. Loki and his children play an important role, especially in the events leading up to Ragnarok. Their stories illustrate the complexity and multifaceted relationship between gods and giants, and show how sometimes the most dangerous creatures can arise from mistakes and poor decisions. Loki is one of the most famous and controversial characters. He has become famous for his shenanigans, trickery, and ability to transform, which has made him the centerpiece of many stories. Here are some fascinating stories about Loki, the creation of Sleipnir. The story begins with the gods once making a pact with a giant builder. This giant promised to build strong walls around Asgard in just 3 seasons. In return, he asked for Freya, the goddess of love and beauty, as well as the sun and the moon. The gods thought long and hard, but finally agreed, hoping that the giant would not finish the job in time. However, the construction was progressing very quickly, and it was becoming clear that the giant would indeed be able to complete it on time. So the gods turned to Loki for help. Loki, known for his cunning plans, offered to help the giant in the construction, but in return he asked him for his horse Svadilfari, who helped the giant in his work. The giant agreed, and one night when they were working, Loki turned into a beautiful mare and took away the horse of the great builder. Without his helper, the giant could not finish the work on time, and the gods were able to save Freya, the sun, and the moon. But this story had an unexpected twist. Sometime later, Loki himself became the father of an unusual child, an 8-legged foal, who was named Sleipnir. This colt became the faithful companion of the god Odin and the fastest horse in the world. Thus, despite all his cunning and deceit, Loki brought the gods something valuable and useful: the theft of Bruni's gold. Brun was a true craftsman among the dwarves who lived deep underground. His hands could create masterpieces that no one else could replicate. From weapons to jewelry, everything that came out from under Bruni's hammer was perfect. Word of his skill spread far beyond the underground caves, reaching even Asgard, the world of the gods. Loki, known for his fickleness and desire to possess other people's talents and wealth, heard of Bruni and was eager to learn the secrets of his skill. But Loki never acted directly. Instead of offering Bruni an honest apprenticeship, he thought about how he could get his hands on the master's knowledge and gold without too much effort. One day, as Bruni labored over another order, Loki broke into his forge. Taking advantage of the moment when the dwarf's attention was focused on the red-hot metal, Loki grabbed a sack of gold bars and hurried away. Bruni noticed the disappearance of the gold almost immediately. Feeling grief, he jumped up from his seat and rushed after Loki. Anger and determination blazed in his eyes, for gold was not just a medium of exchange, it symbolized years of hard work and untold effort. Loki knew that dwarves were known for their endurance and perseverance, so he decided to use his magical powers. Turning into a swift-footed doe or a skittish hare, Loki tried to confuse the tracks and leave Bruni behind. But the dwarf never gave up. Every time Loki changed his appearance, Bruni found a way to catch up with him. And so it went on for a long time. Loki would run, Bruni would follow. Loki would turn into an eagle soaring high in the sky, but Bruni would fly after him like an arrow shot from a bow. Loki became a fish diving into the depths of the lake, but Bruni swam after him, never giving up hope. Finally, Loki grew tired of the endless transformations and the chase. He realized that no matter how much he hid, Bruni would not give up. The dwarf was willing to do anything to get his gold back. Realizing that further attempts at escape were futile, Loki stopped and turned to face his pursuer. Bruni stood before him, breathing heavily, but his eyes burned with determination. "Give me back my gold," he said in a hoarse voice, his hand on the hilt of his sword. Loki realized that resistance was pointless. Before the threat of reprisal, he handed Bruni the bag of gold bars. Sighing a sigh of relief, Bruni took his gold and slowly walked away back to his smithy. Loki remained standing still, realizing that even the most cunning plan can backfire on you. Sometimes honesty and straightforwardness are stronger than any tricks and deceptions. This story reminds us that even the most skillful deceiver can fall into the trap of his own schemes. Loki, so accustomed to success in his scheming, is powerless against Bruni's indomitable will and persistence. An altercation with Thor. At one of the great feasts of the gods, where all the inhabitants of Asgard gathered, Loki decided to test the limits of Thor's patience. Thor, son of Odin and god of thunder, was known for his incredible physical strength and formidable character. He was the protector of Asgard and a man not to be crossed. However, Loki, always looking for a reason to quarrel and ready for any provocation, decided to challenge the most powerful of the Aesir. During the feast, when everyone was enjoying food and drink, Loki approached Thor and began to talk to him. At first glance, the conversation seemed friendly, but soon Loki moved on to direct insults. He told Thor that his wife Sif, known for her beauty and valor, did not deserve respect at all. These words hurt Thor, for Sif was not only his wife, but also his faithful companion, supporting him in all his endeavors. Thor, hearing these words, could not contain his anger. His face flushed red, his muscles tensed, and he felt a storm of rage rising inside him. Raising his legendary hammer Mjolnir, Thor stepped forward, intending to punish Loki for his insolence. Loki, seeing that the matter was taking a serious turn, instantly assessed the situation. Knowing that he had no chance in a direct confrontation with Thor, Loki decided to use one of his favorite tricks, the magic of transformation. In the blink of an eye, he turned into a tiny fly and flew upwards, hiding from the gaze of the enraged god. Thor raised his hammer and prepared to bring it down on Loki, but he was already gone, leaving only a slight buzzing in the air. Despite all his power and anger, Thor could do nothing. Loki had proven once again that his cunning and shape-shifting skills made him virtually invulnerable. Even in the face of the most powerful of the Aesir, he found a way to escape punishment. Loki's punishment of Balder. Balder is one of our most beloved gods. He was a kind and just god whom everyone loved. However, Loki, jealous of Balder's popularity, decided to destroy him. He created an arrow made of mistletoe, which was the only thing that could harm Balder. Loki persuaded Hod, Balder's brother, to shoot him with his bow. When the arrow hit Balder, he fell. The gods were angry with Loki and sentenced him to be executed. They put him in a cage and tied him to a rock where a snake dripped a poisonous liquid on his face. Loki suffered in agony, but managed to survive thanks to his wife Sigyn, who collected the poison in a vessel. This is one of the most infamous stories about Loki, showing his cruelty and cunning. The creation of Jormungand. Jormungand is a giant serpent that coils around the earth and bites its own tail. Loki created him when he was in the form of a serpent. He decided to turn himself into an animal to escape the persecution of the gods. Jormungand became a dangerous enemy of the gods and his existence threatened the world. Jormungand remained a threat to the gods until Ragnarok, when he fights against Thor. This story shows how Loki creates monsters that threaten the world and how his actions have serious consequences. Loki is one of the most complex gods. He combines good and evil, which makes him interesting and appealing. Loki is involved in many stories, each of which adds depth and complexity to his character. These stories show how Loki uses his powers to achieve his goals, but also suffers the consequences of his actions.